I never imagined that a simple box of holiday decorations could shatter my family's foundation. Or perhaps unite us, depending on your perspective. I'm Daniel Carter, residing in a peaceful suburban neighborhood in Ohio. Everything changed on that brisk afternoon when my wife, Emily, requested I retrieve our Christmas decorations from the attic. She has this passion for transforming our home into a winter wonderland, and I can't resist her infectious enthusiasm. There I was, surrounded by dust-covered boxes, when I discovered something unexpected. Not the glittering decorations or the tree topper, but something entirely different. A letter, time-worn and yellow, bearing my name written in my mother's distinctive, trembling script. Ruth Carter, my strong-willed mother who raised me, always ready with an opinion and eager to voice it. I examined the envelope carefully, feeling an unsettling sensation in my stomach. The seal remained intact, as if it had been patiently waiting in the attic for years. Why had she never delivered it to me? My hands yearned to tear it open, but then I noticed a message on the reverse side. Daniel, there's something I must confess before time runs out. Keep this from Emily. My chest tightened instantly. What secret could Mom be keeping that she didn't want my wife to know? With shaking hands, I tucked the letter into my jacket pocket and descended the stairs. Emily was in the kitchen, cheerfully decorating the window with twinkling lights, unaware of the turmoil building within me. Let me take a brief pause in this intriguing tale. Where are you following this story from? Share your location in the comments below. If you're already hooked, don't forget to hit subscribe and stay tuned. Trust me, the story only becomes more intense from here. Returning to that fateful day, I couldn't escape the burden of that mysterious letter. Each time Emily smiled or requested another decoration, I felt the letter's presence weighing heavily in my pocket. Could it be a revelation? A caution? My mother has always been formidable, the type who'd spend hours reprimanding you for missing a weekly phone call. But this seemed more serious, more ominous. I kept imagining her seated at her table, gripping her pen, documenting something too difficult to speak aloud, something with the power to alter our lives forever. I attempted to maintain my composure, assisted Emily with hanging the wreath, even made a light-hearted comment about her fondness for peppermint-scented candles. Yet my thoughts were in chaos. What the letter concerned Emily. Their relationship had always been distant. Mom had this particular way of evaluating her, as though Emily perpetually fell short of some unspoken criteria. Or perhaps it pertained to me. Something I'd done, a transgression I wasn't even aware of. The attic stairs echoed in my mind, seeming to challenge me to return and confront whatever truth lay concealed within that envelope. As darkness descended, our house radiated with festive illumination, appearing warm and inviting from the street. Inside, I was unraveling. Emily nestled against me on the sofa, resting her head on my shoulder, enthusiastically discussing her holiday anticipation. I responded with nods, smiles, and appropriate responses. But my fingers kept brushing against that letter, still hidden away, harboring secrets I wasn't certain I was prepared to uncover. I could have opened it then and there, allowing the words to emerge and facing whatever consequences followed. But I hesitated. Not yet, because instinctively, I understood that once I did, there would be no reversing course. And believe me, what transpired afterward? It struck me with the force of an unexpected storm in the depths of night. That letter remained in my pocket for several days, a quiet companion shadowing me through each holiday preparation. I couldn't summon the courage to open it, especially with Emily's enthusiasm illuminating our modest Ohio residence. She'd been hinting at something significant all week, leaving subtle clues everywhere. Finally, during our Friday evening meal, she couldn't contain herself any longer. We were seated at our kitchen table, surrounded by the aroma of her signature lasagna, when she clasped my hand and announced it. We're going to be parents, Daniel. I remained motionless, my fork suspended midway, envisioning a tiny heartbeat on an ultrasound screen. Then she released her characteristic laugh, that infectious sound that had captured my heart years ago, and explained further. Not a pregnancy. We had successfully completed the adoption process for a 4-month-old infant named Liam. My heart expanded with joy. Liam. I could already envision him, with his chubby cheeks and inquisitive eyes, taking his first steps around our living room next Christmas. Emily has been my steadfast support since our chance meeting at a Columbus coffee shop 7 years ago, and this felt like the perfect progression for our journey together. I leaned across the table, pressed a kiss to her forehead, and expressed my eagerness to meet our son. She glowed with happiness, excitedly discussing nursery plans and baby essentials. For that brief moment, the letter ceased to exist. It was simply us, envisioning our future with Liam. But I couldn't contain this news. Mom needed to know. She'd been persistently hinting at grandchildren since our wedding day, particularly during our holiday gatherings. I was certain she'd be ecstatic. After clearing away our dinner plates, I retrieved my phone and dialed her number. The connection crackled briefly before her voice emerged, as crisp as ever. "Hey, Mom," I said, my face split with an uncontrollable smile. "That grandchild you've been yearning for? She's finally getting one. Emily and I are adopting a little boy, Liam." The silence that followed stretched uncomfortably, like a void had opened between us. When she finally responded, her voice carried an Arctic chill. "Adoption? That's not my grandson." I felt my grip tighten on the phone, my smile faltering. "What are you saying?" I asked, my voice wavering. "He's our son, Mom. Your grandson." She interrupted me sharply. "No, Daniel. He's not blood. Not family. Come over. Now." The line went dead. I stood frozen, staring at my phone screen, feeling an unsettling coldness creep through my body. Emily called out from the next room, inquiring if everything was all right, but I managed a vague excuse about needing fresh air and grabbed my car keys. The letter shifted in my jacket pocket as I stepped into the night, where a biting wind nipped at my cheeks. Delicate snowflakes danced beneath the streetlights, but my thoughts were churning like a violent storm. I climbed in my truck and navigated the frost-covered streets to Mom's house, just a few blocks away. Her modest brick ranch came into view, adorned with a single modest string of lights on the porch, typical of her practical nature, unlike Emily's elaborate decorating style. After parking, I drew a steadying breath and went inside. Mom sat waiting in the kitchen, her silver hair pulled back severely, hands clasped on the table like a judge ready to pass sentence. A faint cinnamon scent wafted from a partially burned candle, but her eyes remained cold and distant. "Sit," she commanded, gesturing to the chair opposite her. I complied, feeling like a child caught misbehaving once again. She wasted no time with pleasantries. "Your wife will never provide you with a true family, Daniel. Adoption might sound noble, but it's not the same thing." My chest constricted as I stared at her. "Emily means everything to me," I responded, keeping my voice steady. "We chose Liam together. He's going to be our child." Mom's expression hardened, her mouth forming a rigid line. She leaned across the table, her eyes boring into mine. "What's his family name? Where did he come from? Who are his real parents?" "I don't know anything about him, and I don't want to." My jaw tightened involuntarily. She was systematically destroying something precious, and I couldn't comprehend her motivation. Was this truly about Liam, or was there something more sinister at play? The letter in my pocket seemed to grow heavier, its corners pressing against me like a sharp knife. I pushed back my chair abruptly, the legs scraping harshly. "I didn't come here to argue, Mom. I thought you'd share our joy." She remained unmoved. "Come back when you have something genuine to share with me." I turned and walked away, letting the door slam behind me. The snow crunched beneath my feet as I headed toward my truck, my mind in turmoil. Why was she so adamantly opposed? And why did her words eerily mirror the warning in that letter? "Don't let Emily know." What secrets was she harboring? I looked back at the house, seeing her silhouette still at the table, motionless. Whatever this was, it transcended Liam. It was more significant, more ominous, and it threatened to engulf us all. The drive home from Mom's house was haunted by her words. "Your wife will never provide you with a true family." They echoed relentlessly in my mind as the truck's wheels crunched through fresh snow. Emily didn't deserve such cruelty. Neither did Liam, who hadn't even entered our lives yet. When I finally reached our driveway, the house was dark except for a dim light in the living room. Emily had probably gone to bed, wondering about my sudden departure after that call. I remained in the truck, engine off, watching snowflakes accumulate on the windshield. The unopened letter still waited in my jacket, like a time bomb I couldn't ignore much longer. Rest eluded me that night. I shifted restlessly, haunted by Mom's cold stare and her words that fell like an executioner's verdict. Dawn brought no solace. Emily was already awake, the aroma of fresh coffee mingling with her soft humming of Christmas tunes. She didn't mention the previous evening, simply pressed her lips to my cheek, and mentioned she'd be occupied with grading assignments throughout the day. I managed a weak smile in response, but my insides churned with anxiety. This situation couldn't remain unresolved. Mom's opposition to Liam seemed more than mere obstinance. It felt calculated, as if she intended to demolish everything we'd worked towards. I needed to confront her again, demand explanations before this uncertainty consumed me. And so I returned. Around noon, I drove back to her residence. The solitary string of Christmas lights adorning her porch swayed dismally in the breeze, more desolate than decorative. I entered without knocking, reverting to childhood habits. Mom sat at the kitchen table, exactly where she'd been yesterday, steam rising from her tea mug. My appearance didn't seem to startle her. "Take a seat, Daniel," she commanded, her voice emotionless yet authoritative. I remained standing, folding my arms. "I won't, Mom. You can't make those comments about Emily and Liam and expect my silent acceptance. What's really bothering you?" She slammed her mug down, the sound reverberating through the silent kitchen. Her eyes constricted, and I caught a glimpse of something beneath the anger. Perhaps fear. "Your issue," she declared, "is that you're sacrificing your future. She can't bear children. She's limiting you." Blood rushed my face. "Emily isn't the issue," I retorted. "We chose Liam together. He's becoming our son. Why can't you accept that?" Mom leaned closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "Because he's not truly yours, Daniel. You need someone who can continue our bloodline, not raise someone else's cast-off." I recoiled as if physically struck. Cast-off? Was that how she viewed Liam? My fists clenched involuntarily, but I maintained control. "You're speaking from ignorance," I stated, struggling to maintain composure. "We've endured countless struggles trying to conceive. Medical procedures, endless tests, countless nights consoling Emily through her tears. This isn't some impulsive decision. It's our reality." Mom's expression remained stone-like. She rose deliberately and moved toward the counter. I anticipated her retrieving something, perhaps a photograph, to reinforce her argument. Instead, she turned back, her face set with determination. "Leave her, Daniel. Find yourself a proper wife. Someone who can give me what I've been denied." That was the breaking point. My composure shattered like glass. "Why been denied?" I thundered. "You're suggesting I abandon the woman who holds my heart because she doesn't meet your warped expectations?" I'm through with this conversation. I whirled toward the exit, but her next statement froze me in place. "This isn't about her, Daniel." I halted, my fingers gripping the doorknob. "What exactly are you implying?" I questioned, partially turning to face her. She remained silent, her mouth quivering as if she'd revealed too much. The atmosphere grew dense, weighted with unspoken truths. That envelope seemed to burn through my jacket pocket, its presence increasingly suffocating. I stormed out, slamming the door with such force that the porch lighting flickered. The snowfall had intensified, wrapping the street in an eerie quiet, but my thoughts were chaos. What did she mean it's about me? Was she condemning my choice of Emily? Or was there something more sinister, connected to that mysterious letter I'd been avoiding? I slid into my truck, my hands trembling against the steering wheel. I could return home, bury this conversation, let Emily maintain her peace. But that wasn't possible anymore. Mother had drawn her line, and whatever secret she harbored was more significant than Liam, more consequential than Emily. It was a truth with sharp edges, and it was hunting me down, ready or not. I couldn't bring myself to drive home immediately after leaving Mom's. My mind was a maze of barbed thoughts, her final words cutting deeper with each passing moment. "It's about you." What could those words possibly mean? The truck growled through the snow-covered streets, but I couldn't face Emily yet, not with this uncertainty gnawing at me. I parked at an empty playground nearby, the kind with weathered swings and an ice-covered pond where children skate during winter. Snow blanketed the benches, casting a ghostly glow beneath the streetlight. I cut the engine and sat there, my breath creating clouds in the frigid air, the letter finally demanding attention. With unsteady hands, I pulled it from my jacket and tore it open. The paper crackled, delicate as ancient parchment, revealing Mom's familiar script across the page. "Daniel," it began, "I've kept this burden too long. You deserve the truth before I'm gone. You're not my biological son. We adopted you as a newborn because your father and I couldn't conceive. My breathing stopped, the words swimming as blood rushed through my head. Adopted. Me. Reality spun, and I clutched the steering wheel for stability. The letter continued. I watched your relationship with Emily grow, and I fear you're repeating my mistake. A family that isn't truly yours will never be sufficient. Don't share my regrets. I read the letter 3 times, each word striking like a physical blow. All those years of her preaching about family legacy, beaming with pride at my college graduation, wrapping me in tight embraces during Christmas gatherings. Were they all fabricated moments? My entire existence as Daniel Carter, her beloved son, her own flesh and blood, had crumbled into dust. Now I was nothing but a carefully hidden secret tucked away in that attic like forgotten memorabilia. And she dared to suggest I'd regret choosing Liam? Fury surged through me, scalding and sharp, but beneath it lurked something far more devastating. A betrayal that carved me hollow, leaving nothing but an empty shell. Time seemed to stop as I sat there, watching snow accumulate on the windshield, the letter crushed within my grip. My phone vibrated. Emily, no doubt concerned about my extended absence. There was no way to mask this from her. The truth would be evident on my face the moment I stepped through our door. So I drove home with measured precision, mentally rehearsing my explanation. When I entered, our house's warmth enveloped me, the fresh pine scent from our partially decorated Christmas tree hitting me like memories I no longer felt entitled to claim. Emily lounged on the couch, absorbed in a baby-named book, her smile vanishing when she caught sight of my expression. "Daniel, what's happened?" she asked, rising quickly. I delivered the truth without cushioning it. I sat her down and revealed everything: Mom's opposition to Liam, the letter, the adoption. My voice faltered when I confessed I wasn't truly Mom's son, and Emily's eyes widened before softening with understanding. She remained silent, simply pulling me close, holding me as if I might shatter. When she finally spoke, her voice carried unwavering certainty. "Your origins don't matter, Daniel. You belong with me. Leah belongs to us. That's all that counts." I pressed my face into her shoulder, her words anchoring me back to reality. She spoke truth. Mom's fears weren't mine to inherit. But I couldn't let this end here. I needed to confront Mom again, not for myself, but for Liam, Emily, and the future we were creating together. After kissing Emily goodbye, I grabbed my keys and returned to Mom's house. The snowfall had intensified, wind screaming through the streets like nature itself wanted to bury this revelation. I entered her house without announcing myself, letter in hand, finding her in the living room gazing at Dad's old photograph on the mantel. She turned, startled, and before she could speak, I held up the letter, my voice rough with emotion. "You adopted me. All this time, you've been pushing me away from Liam, yet you made the same choice. Why, Mom? What terrifies you so much?" She recoiled as if my words had physically struck her, collapsing into her favorite armchair. Her hands trembled violently as she covered her face, and I witnessed something I'd never seen before, my mother's composure completely shattering. "I couldn't find the words," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I was terrified you'd despise me. Or worse, that you'd accept less from life, just as I convinced myself to do." I stood there, watching this woman who had been my pillar of strength for decades, now appearing unusually vulnerable and small. "Less." I moved closer, my voice tight. "You think being adopted makes me less worthy?" She remained silent, turning away as tears traced paths down her cheeks. In that heavy silence, understanding dawned on me. This wasn't solely about Liam. This was about her own unresolved past, her attempts to make me live within its confines. But I refused to be bound by her fears any longer. Her tears didn't deter my unwavering gaze. The familiar living room suddenly felt claustrophobic, thick with secrets she'd finally been forced to reveal. I'd arrived prepared for confrontation, still clutching the letter that had transformed my identity. Adopted, not her biological child. Yet her admission, her deep-seated fear of losing my love, lingered between us like an uninvited specter. I took another step forward, my footsteps echoing against the hardwood, and repeated my question. "Why, Mom? How could you push me away from Liam when you made the same choice?" She wiped her tears with unsteady fingers, avoiding my gaze. Dad's photograph watched from the mantel, his stern smile unchanging through the years. "I was ashamed, Daniel," she admitted, barely audible. "For years, I convinced myself I'd done right by you. But at every family gathering, every time someone commented on your features or your laugh, features so different from mine, I'd panic. I lived in constant fear of discovery. I sank onto the couch opposite her, the weight of her confession settling heavily upon me. She'd constructed an impenetrable fortress around this secret, and now she was crumbling within its walls. But there was more. She drew a shaky breath, gripping the armrest, as if it were her only anchor to reality. "When you and Emily couldn't conceive, I saw history repeating itself. Watching you settle for what I perceived as second best, something borrowed that would never truly belong to you. I couldn't bear it. I wanted you to have what I never did, a real connection, a true legacy." I leaned forward, my voice firm but controlled. "Liam isn't borrow, Mom. He's ours completely and wholly, just as I was yours. You don't have the right to define what's real for my family." Her eyes darted up, brimming with tears, and for a moment, I thought she'd protest. Instead, she slumped back, all resistance draining from her body. I could have walked away then, left her to marinate in her remorse. But something held me back. Perhaps it was the visible tremor in her hands, or the distant melody of Christmas carols floating from next door, echoing memories of happier times. My voice softened. "I don't hate you, Mom. I never could. But this has to end. Liam's coming home soon, and I want you in his life. Not like this, though." She studied my face intently, as if seeing me anew. Finally, she nodded, a slight, hesitant movement, and whispered, "I'm sorry. May I meet him?" Those words were enough. I drove home through the falling snow, beneath a sky heavy with winter clouds, feeling lighter than I had in days. Emily was awake, wrapped in her favorite blanket, nursing a cup of hot chocolate. I shared everything: Mom's breakdown, her eventual surrender. Emily's face brightened, her smile widening. "She's coming around?" she asked, squeezing my hand. I nodded. "Yes. She wants to meet Liam." Emily jumped up to embrace me, and for the first time since discovering that letter, I felt grounded. The following day, we invited Mom over. The adoption agency had sent a new photo that morning, a slightly blurry image of a small boy with dark, curly hair and a toothless grin, dressed in a blue onesie. Emily had proudly displayed it on the fridge, beside our shopping list, already incorporating him into our daily life. When Mom arrived, she paused uncertainly at the threshold, her coat speckled with snow, nervousness evident in her posture. Wordlessly, I handed her the photo. She examined it carefully, fingers gently tracing its edges, before looking up at me with tear-filled eyes. "He's beautiful," she murmured, her voice cracking. I smiled. "Yes, he is." Emily gently guided her to the sofa where we had arranged a modest spread. Fresh-baked cookies, steaming coffee, and a few remaining ornaments waited to adorn our Christmas tree. Mom settled down, still clutching Liam's photograph, and began to share. This time, instead of regrets, she spoke about Dad. She recalled how he had chosen my name, how he had proudly carried me through every room like a precious trophy. Her laughter, genuine and soft, filled the room as she said, "I was mistaken, Daniel. Family isn't defined by blood. It's about moments like these." She motioned toward us, encompassing our home's warm disorder. I could only nod, emotion tightening my throat. "You're right, Mom, and Liam will be blessed to have you." When she embraced me goodbye that evening, snowflakes drifting silently outside, I witnessed a transformation within her. Beyond mere acceptance, she had found serenity. She whispered, "Thank you," against my shoulder, and I sensed we had crossed an important threshold. Yet the journey ahead, with Liam in our care, would challenge us in ways I couldn't anticipate. That night, after Mom left, her embrace and newfound acceptance of Liam lingered like a delicate bridge we had just constructed. The snow continued its descent, wrapping our Ohio neighborhood in a silence that felt almost holy. Emily and I sat beside the Christmas tree, its twinkling lights casting gentle shadows on the walls, discussing our upcoming days with Liam. With his adoption finalizing soon, the agency assured us he'd be home before New Year's. Emily's joyful laughter echoed through the room as she playfully demonstrated diaper-changing techniques, making me smile. Everything felt perfect in that moment. But perfection can be deceptive, hiding the subtle fissures forming beneath. In the following days, Mom became a more frequent visitor. She'd arrive with bags of groceries, determined to prepare our meals, her way of weaving herself into this new chapter. One evening, as she stirred chili on our stovetop, she grew unusually quiet, her stirring slowing. I caught something unsettling in her expression, as if she were wrestling with unspoken thoughts. "Everything all right, Mom?" I asked, resting against the counter. She nodded too quickly, forcing brightness into her smile. "Just tired," she replied, returning to her cooking. I didn't press further, attributing it to our recent emotional journey. But that glimpse of uncertainty stayed with me, like a persistent splinter I couldn't extract. Then happened. Christmas Eve of all nights. Emily and I were wrapping presents, scattered ribbons, and paper creating chaos in our living room, when the phone's shrill ring pierced the peaceful scene. The adoption agency's number flashed on the screen. I answered, anticipating seasonal wishes or perhaps final paperwork details about Liam. Instead, the caseworker's tone was tense, businesslike. "Mr. Carter, there's been a complication. A woman has come forward claiming to be Liam's maternal grandmother. She's challenging the adoption." The room tilted as my grip tightened on the phone. Emily glanced up, her expression shifting as she read my face. "What is it?" she mouthed silently. I couldn't respond, still processing the caseworker's words. "She's presented documentation to support her claim and is seeking custody. We need you to come in tomorrow to address this situation." After hanging up, my trembling hands betraying my distress, I shared everything with Emily. Though tears welled in her eyes, she clasped my arm with determination. "We won't give him up, Daniel. We'll do whatever it takes." I nodded mechanically, my thoughts racing to Mom, that fleeting shadow in her gaze. Her evasive response. Had she known something? The possibility gnawed at me, ice-cold and relentless. I drove to her house alone, holiday lights casting an otherworldly crimson glow across the empty streets. She opened the door in her nightwear, disheveled, appearing suddenly frail. "What brings you here, Daniel?" she asked, stepping back. I remained standing, speaking quietly. "Someone's claiming Liam, his grandmother. Did you know about this?" The color drained from her face as she staggered backward, steadying herself on nearby furniture. "No," she whispered, but her wandering gaze betrayed her. "Mom," I pressed, moving closer. "What have you done?" Collapsing in her seat, hands covering her face, she confessed. Following our conversation, she'd accessed Liam's records through a county office contact, discovered his birth mother's identity, located her relatives. "I wanted to prove my point about blood ties," she admitted brokenly. "I never thought they'd actually fight for him. I just needed you to understand." I stared at her, feeling freshly betrayed, the wound cutting deeper. "You went behind our backs?" I managed, my voice unfamiliar. "You put my son at risk?" She reached for me, sobbing, but I recoiled. "You still don't understand, Mom. This isn't about your beliefs. It's about our family. Liam is our child, and now we might lose him because of your misguided actions." I left her there, her sobs following me out as the snow muffled my footsteps on my way back to Emily. We emerged victorious from that grueling legal battle. Through countless lawyer consultations, draining court hearings, and anxiety-filled sleepless nights, we persevered. The woman's claims crumbled under scrutiny, lacking any substantial evidence to support her case. Finally, Liam returned home, his small fingers intertwined with mine, bringing back the radiant smile that had vanished from Emily's face. But Mom's actions extracted a heavy toll. Though she still sees Liam, there's an unmistakable barrier now, a breach of trust that can't be easily mended. Her deceptive actions didn't just threaten to tear our family apart. They left her isolated, peering in from the outside of a relationship she herself had damaged. This ordeal taught me a painful but vital lesson. Lies, no matter how well-intentioned, only serve to destroy. Family isn't simply a matter of blood or birthright to hold on to. It's a conscious choice we make daily, embracing those who choose us in return. And here we are, at the conclusion of our journey. Did this ending meet your expectations, or did it surprise you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please show your support with a like and subscribe to catch our next adventure. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next story.